How's it going, folks, and welcome to F1 Manager. I have been so excited for this game since it was announced over 2 years ago that the license for Formula 1 was being given to Frontier to make a management game. If you're on my channel, you're probably here from Football Manager, but on the off chance you're new around here, welcome. I'm Jack, also known as Work the Space. We normally play Football Manager, but I'm a massive F1 fan, and I'm very excited to start a new Let's Play here. So, who are we managing? Logical question, where are we? Well, you've seen the thumbnail. We are going to be taking over Alpine. Let's be honest, Alpine a little bit of a meme at the moment in the F1 world. I'm here to restore some faith to the Alpine faithful, hopefully to convince Oscar Piastri to stick around, and well, hopefully to score some points and eventually make them the best team on the F1 grid. Season objective is a 4th place finish. Starting budget is high. In terms of team rating, Alpine are considered the 5th best team in the game. So if we're going to achieve that goal of 4th place, we're going to need to improve things over the course of the year. So here we are at Alpine, and I think the first thing to logically dive into is our drivers. We, of course, have Fernando Alonso, 40 years old, a legend of the sport, 85 rated. He's been done dirty there, I think. Not necessarily because I think he is underrated, although perhaps he is, but because I refuse to believe he should have the same rating as Esteban Ocon, who is also 85 rated. You can see here, looking at Esteban Ocon, he has really good control and smoothness, so I'm hoping that's going to help us when it comes to kind of maybe running longer in stints. Our car is not going to be the quickest on the grid to kick things off, so that is going to be rather important. You can see here as well, very good at overtaking, so maybe starting on harder tyres, moving on to softer ones as races go on is going to be the way to approach things with him. And from a financial perspective, Alpine actually start the game listed as rich. We have a pretty decent initial starting budget. You can see here the starting balance is, well, $37 million. A lot of that, I think, initially is going to be invested into the headquarters because, to be honest, our facilities are a little bit lacking to start things off. So the first thing I'm going to upgrade straight away is the factory. It's $11 million. It's not the cheapest thing. It is going to increase the cost of the upkeep, but what it is going to allow us for us to manufacture more parts simultaneously, which I think is a really important thing in this game, especially since we're not at the top of the grid. We're going to want to be consistently bringing upgrades throughout the season. Elsewhere, our CFD simulator really isn't that good, which means when it comes to designing aerodynamic parts, we're going to be lacking there. So immediately, I'm going to invest some money into there, spending some big bucks early on. Realistically, we're probably not going to be upgrading the car immediately with a ton of upgrades. Instead, I want to lay the groundwork this year. I feel like with the car, with the drivers that we've got, we should be very capable of getting that targeted 4th place finish this year. Just to take a look at our cars, you can see here kind of where we rank on the grid. This is, of course, out of 20 cars. Because both cars can contain separate upgrades, when you look at a car's rating, it is based on all the cars on the grid. So in terms of our cars, which are identical at this moment in time, you can see here the big strength is in high-speed cornering, acceleration whilst under DRS, and also our overall cooling package is pretty good. And running in dirty air, we should be reasonably okay at. I think initially I want to be improving the top speed and acceleration. The fact that we are in the bottom half of the grid when it comes to top speed is somewhat of a concern. So if you're coming from Motorsport Manager, F1 Manager is a little bit different when it comes to designing parts. You can see here you have to design a part, then actually manufacture copies of that part design. With that in mind, you can see it's fairly simple in terms of the 6 different elements of the car that you can improve, and by mousing over each of them, you can see what elements they are able to improve. I think initially I want to just focus on the chassis to help with the top speed and acceleration. When it comes to designing a part, you can see here you have the initial computer man hours and then the wind tunnel hours. These reset over a period of days, and you can basically choose how much of this time you invest into each part. Given the fact I'd like to get quite a hefty upgrade in this area right away, we're going to invest about half of our time for both these areas into things. I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of the cooling that we're already pretty good in to improve everywhere else about the car, especially when it just comes to overall speed, which is where we're lacking at the moment. The third and final part of designing any part in F1 Manager is to assign engineers and your overall approach. You have up to 10 engineers available. We are going to assign as many as possible, which is 6 on developing this part. I want to get this done as quickly as possible. It's going to be done in 22 days. And you can see here as well, you can rush the part's overall development. That does come with short-term gains in terms of it'll be done quicker. The long-term effects, though, mean that you'll get less expertise for your engineers. So with that in mind, we're going to stick this on normal, confirm this upgrade, get it in as soon as possible. Of course, this is only part 1. We have to design it, Gonna have 3 weeks to do that. We will be manufacturing it down the line. In F1 Manager, you will also get these kind of dilemmas. Do I want to hold a kickoff party? Do I look like a party animal? Of course I do. Right, approve that request. We want to improve morale as much as possible. We have just had our test results back from pre-season testing. Worth noting, you're not able to manage that in any capacity in F1 Manager. But here's how we are shaping up. As you can see, it is that overall pace that we are lacking. I'm hoping that that chassis part that we've kicked off is going to address that. And before we get into today's race, the season opener at Bahrain, one last little thing to do is set our performance targets. I think that we have a car capable of making it into Q3 with at least one of our drivers doing it. So I am going to select that. However, on the race target front, I think fastest lap, it might be a little bit away from us. So let's not tick that box. And with that, I think we're ready to race. Worth noting that with this series, I'm not going to be doing practice sessions. I appreciate that some people might enjoy the idea of spending 3 hours tweaking and tuning the car. It's just not really for me. But here are the results from P3. As you can see in the third practice session, Alonso going 7th fastest. Worth noting that we were able to split the Mercedes. Valtteri Bottas up in 5th, perhaps a little bit of a shock. I think initially Alfa Romeo and McLaren are going to be our big rivals this year. Based off this, I think Q3 is possible, but it's maybe going to be a little bit trickier than I thought it was going to be. Now, because I didn't micromanage practice sessions myself, it's worth noting that the setup confidence isn't as high as perhaps it could be. That's fine by me. I don't have time to sit around for 3 hours doing practice. I like to get straight into the meat and potatoes of things. Speaking of which, let's go and see how we got on in qualifying. So first qualifying session as Alpine team principal, desperately hoping that we could get at least one car into Q3, preferably 2, and to kick off this session, decided no messing around, was going to send the drivers out early and get some early lap times in. Traffic is absolutely brutal in Q1. The cars are not the best in F1 Manager at getting out the way, so I just wanted clean laps. That was the name of the game. Alonso ended up going, as you can see there, a 1 minute 32.1. Ocon a couple of tenths behind, good time set, and ultimately they were good enough. I set the drivers out again on the same set of tyres. You can see as some of the times were coming in after the first runnings. Traffic a factor, Verstappen 2.5 seconds behind Perez, but he was able to recover to secure first in that session. As for ourselves, 9th and 11th, so not boding particularly well for our Q3 aspirations for both cars.
Radio check.
They're going into Q2, decided to do the same plan again. Both cars out early, and then I saw it. As we're going around the final corner, about to start our flying laps of Alonso and Ocon, Perez exiting the pit lane. And my heart sank because I've played a little bit of this game. I knew what could happen. Alonso cleared the traffic, but Esteban Ocon starting his flying lap, going into turn 1. And there's a Red Bull parked on the apex, and he's not getting out the way, and this completely ruined the opening lap for Ocon. Now, the only saving grace here was I'd saved tyres. I'd actually used the same tyres that had already done 2 laps. So I wasn't necessarily expecting crazy quick times from us, but it was okay for Alonso, comparable to his previous running. For Ocon, however, 3 seconds down. Yeah, lots of work still to do in this session. He was going to have to go out again, and in fact, both drivers found themselves in a situation where I felt like they had to go out again. As the times were coming in, I realised it was going to be very tight for us. But on fresh softs, I remained hopeful. We decided this time not to send the drivers out early, but instead to wait as long as possible, get the track rubbered in, fresh softs, set a quick time. It was a perfect plan. Or was it? Because as cars started to set their flying laps, there was a yellow flag in Sector 1.
Yellow flag. Yellow flag.
Danny Rick
Copy.
locking up. Going off, you can see there to the left, it impacted ourselves and a handful of other drivers, and unfortunately with that, I knew we were not going to see improvements with our times. Ocon was not going to make it out the session. Alonso, you can see, finishing his lap, but sadly could not go better. The only saving grace, really, he was in P9. He was going to be making it through to Q3. For Ocon, however, a session to forget, blocked by Perez, compromised by the yellow flags. And, well, it's not taken long for disappointment, has it? As my leadership reign has got off to a bumpy start. Ocon out. Lots of work to do going into Q3, where we're going to jump on board with Alonso. This was our initial lap. Using used softs here. Wanted to see what we were capable of. Get a time on the board, but really was targeting our final lap as the one to go fastest. And as we crossed the line here, I felt like we did okay. I thought it was okay. It was a time that was quicker than our previous sessions. And with that, I well, I was happy until everyone else did their laps. And as you can see here, well, P8 ahead of Verstappen for now. Verstappen, again, I think getting caught out in traffic. So as much as I want to moan about Perez, Red Bull themselves been a little bit of a victim of it. Starting the flying lap here with Alonso. Lots and lots of work to do. Was hoping for some green sectors throughout this lap. Elsewhere, Sainz and Perez, Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas battling out the top. Russell with lots of work to do. As we went through the first sector, Alonso going green, and in fact he would go green again in sector 2. So I was thinking maybe there's room for improvement here. The session was ending. These laps were the ones that were going to count. Lots of clean air ahead of ourselves as well. Keeping a keen eye on Verstappen, kind of hoping that he might spin out, might get stuck in traffic. Maybe we could start ahead of him. But as Alonso crossed the line, despite those green sectors, it was not enough. 8th place at best. And while we were looking at Magnussen, we were looking at Verstappen. Magnussen improved on his time a little, but couldn't go better. Max Verstappen, though, as I checked the sectors, my heart sank. He was going purple in sector 1, sector 2, and it was inevitable. He was going to cross the line to go fastest in the session, to relegate Alonso to 9th on the grid to start our opening race of the season. It was not the dream start. Disappointing to see the AlphaTauris and Alfa Romeo and both Mercedes clear of us. Lots of work to do as we go into race day. You can see the final standings here. It was going to be Red Bull leading the way at the front of the grid. Ferrari splitting the Red Bulls, though, with Leclerc and Sainz in P2 and 3. Russell and Hamilton maybe disappointed to be behind Bottas. As for ourselves, lots and lots of work to do tomorrow. Let's get to race day. In terms of driver strategies, for Alonso, we are going with the standard Plan A strategy the game provides. That is a soft, medium, softs. My only concern here being the tyres look a little marginal. I think we only have one set of unused softs. So we might have to change the strategy a little bit. Maybe go to double mediums. Maybe use hards in the middle. Just to ensure that the latter softs can make it to the end of the race. As for Ocon, I'm actually going with a strategy that wasn't recommended by the game. Originally, the game wanted me to go softs, hards, mediums. I'm going to attempt a double medium setup here. I assume we've got 2 sets of mediums for the race. I don't believe there's a way to actually see what tyres you have available as you set things up here. So maybe something for future iterations, or maybe it is available and I've just not found it yet. Just as a reminder, the game's not even out yet as I sit and record this. I'm still learning, so if you spot anything I'm doing glaringly obviously wrong, let me know it. Anyway, driver options, everything's turned to the max to start the race. And well, speaking of which, I think we're ready to do battle.
It's a cloudy night tonight, but otherwise the weather looks good for the race. Looking here at Fernando Alonso. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. Further back, we've got Esteban Ocon. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. And we're just moments away now. And this is it, the Bahrain Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
So starting this race here, we're going to hop on board immediately with Alonso, looking for a good start here. It looks like we've actually managed to get Gasly off the line, which could be massive. An opportunity maybe to go around the outside here. Traffic is bad. It is absolutely rammed. And in fact, Gasly looking to go round the outside as we go into turn 2. Alonso, though, holding on to the move and getting a very, very good exit. Russell, I think, compromised slightly by Hamilton. As for Ocon, he is still down in 12th as things stand. And, well, it's a decent start. It's a solid start. Certainly what we want to see there. As, well, we've got past Gasly not once, but I think twice. Look at this. Alonso making a second move this time, getting George Russell on the inside. That is absolutely sensational. And he gets ahead. And, in fact, he looks like he wants to go for Hamilton as well. Alonso is on a mad one. And in the background, you can see Ocon is also trying to make some moves here. The team are loving it. I'm loving it. And if we just hop on board at things here, we can see Ocon also up to P11. Things that you absolutely love to see. A really, really good opening to this race for us. As we come to the end of this first lap, our race pace looks really, really good here. Alonso currently hunting down Hamilton, who looks to be held up a bit by Bottas. The Ferraris and the Red Bulls shooting away at the front. But look at this. Alonso trying to make the move on Hamilton. Might have the inside line for this first turn. Surely he's not going to go for the Alpha as well. He's not, although there was a collision, I think, there. Did Hamilton hold it? He did hold it just about. I'll tell you what, it's wheel-to-wheel racing to start this race. Alonso trying to make a move on the Alpha yet again. He is not content with doing the Mercedes. He wants me up to P5. This is absolutely biblical in terms of our start to the race. I can't believe I'm saying this. Alonso is currently trying to push the Alpha for P5. I am conscious on the battery that we are in the overtake mode. I'm probably going to want to tone that down to neutral come the end of this lap, but we're going to give Alonso at least, the rest of this lap, the final sector, to try and make something happen. As for Ocon, he's had a very, very good start. Just looking at behind him, you can see already dropping Zhou down in P12, which is what we want to see. Alonso, can he make something happen here? He's going to have a go. I'm going to put him on deploy to really just try and get this move done. But you can see we are burning through the battery fairly quickly. But Alonso, you absolute madman. Is he going to hold the move into the final corner? Indeed he is. Got to be a little bit wary here about DRS being enabled. But in fact, you can see the Alpha coming back on the left-hand side now. Wheel-to-wheel racing to start things. Hamilton, by the way, dropping way off the pace as things stand. Alonso should have the better line here as he's wheel-to-wheel still with the Alpha. They are absolutely doing battle here. Unfortunately, he's going to drop behind. And I think we have got DRS. Is there maybe one more chance here to do him on the inside? Surely not. Fernando, what are you doing, son? He is going to do him. Oh, my word. So as we up the tempo a little bit here, you can see Alonso really acting as just the stopper here. Doing Alonso things, parking up in P5, although Bottas is going to make the move on him. We should probably hop on board and see what's what here. Ultimately, we have tyres that are going to go a little bit longer. So we're not going to panic too much just yet, although I can't imagine it's going to be in Alonso's nature to let all these cars pass him. As for Ocon, he is currently chasing down Gasly. Of course, Gasly, I think, started ahead of Alonso on the grid. So the fact that Ocon is now doing battle with him really gives you an idea of how good the start has been for us. We have been really, really solid here in the opening laps. And whilst, yes, we've lost the spot to Bottas, we're not going to panic just yet. Alonso might even be able to make something happen here. Is he really going to try this? Is he really going to try this round the outside? Unfortunately, with our current battery situation, I can't afford to tone things up too much. We have also been running in a higher fuel mode, so we do need to save a little bit. In some ways, running behind Bottas here is actually quite nice. It allows us to save some fuel. Okay, Alonso has managed to overtake Bottas again. Now we've got some fuel saved up. I'm going to put him on pushing. I would really, really, really like to beat and break that DRS range. But as you can see here, the DRS proving very, very powerful for the Alfa Romeo. I think this could be the story of things to come here. Alonso being challenged, it looks like, by the Mercedes on the inside. Worth noting, we have turned down the battery mode just to try and save a little bit here. We're currently trailing Bottas, which I think allows us just to save a little bit more of the battery. We don't need to overtake here. Our tyres are going to last that little bit longer. You can see here, 76% for us. As for Ocon, still in a really, really good spot in P10. Kind of running his own race at this point. Trailing Russell, but it's going to be difficult to overtake the Mercedes, you imagine. So unfortunately for us, Alonso dropping down a couple of positions here. I'm not going to panic too much. Hamilton has managed to clear Bottas, so he's now in P5. Bottas going to be able to charge his battery a little bit now and maybe save a little bit on fuel. Going to be a really interesting battle here. It looks like ourselves, the Alpha and the Mercedes, at least on race pace, very, very evenly matched. So unfortunately for us, Alonso starting to lose ground on the likes of Bottas and Hamilton, who are now clear by almost 2 seconds. So no DRS. That's going to make Alonso's job of defending very difficult against Gasly here. As for Ocon, he is still just vibing away at the back of this train. In some ways, it's not ideal for Ocon, especially because we're going to want to be going on to, well, a slightly longer session here and a longer stint. I'd like clean air to run in. I think this is going to be a patience game for Ocon. Maybe save the tyres a little bit. Can probably up the kind of driving style and push a little bit more. So the pit window has just opened for Ocon. You can see here, he's running on those softs. I'm expecting people to pit around us. I've told Ocon to save his tyres a little bit, but he is able to drive a little more aggressive because we're good on fuel. My hope is that because we've been in this traffic for so long, we can go for a bit of an overcut here. Stay out for maybe a lap or two longer, push on these tyres once there's clean air. And meanwhile, for Alonso, he's currently doing battle with Gasly, it looks like. Of course, we knew this was going to maybe be a thing that we needed to deal with as I've been rabbiting on away. Alonso continuing his battle. He has now lost ground on both Bottas and Hamilton. The AlphaTauri has been a bit of a thorn in our side. Alonso, though, very much staying true to real life, it feels like right now. He has definitely been responsible for holding up a lot of this middle of the pack. You can see it is unbelievably close between these four cars, driving wheel to wheel. Okay, Verstappen has just come into the pits. I'm very curious to see if more of our cars come into the pits. I'm kind of half expecting maybe Gasly to go in here. Is Gasly going to go into the pits? This is going to be interesting to see. Looks like he is going to stay out. Bottas has run wide on turn 14. Unfortunately for us, he is too far up the road to really capitalise. Verstappen coming out the pits could get in the way a bit here. There is a battle going on for race position. Verstappen on hards as well. Get out the way. We can push, I realise, with Alonso. He's been in traffic for so long. Can he make something stick here? Let's put him into overtake mode as well as he's going to try and make a move on Gasly. I'm expecting Gasly to come in this lap. I'm hoping maybe we can use the DRS of Gasly, of Verstappen to gain a bit of time on Gasly. My concern with running Alonso ahead of Gasly was it could be an issue. Although there's been a crash involving multiple cars. Is there going to be a safety car? It is a Haas. It is an Aston Martin. What happened here? Turn 1. Was that Stroll who locked up? I'm going to assume it was Stroll who locked up. Are we going to see a safety car? It doesn't look like it, which is a little bit surprising. And in fact, I owe Stroll an apology. It was Vettel, who's now under investigation for that. May even have a penalty. Alonso going to be able to maybe use the slipstream here of the Red Bull. I'd really, really like to stay behind the Red Bull, but I thought the Red Bull would be a little quicker here. The fact it could offer us DRS as we try the overcut would be nice. Is anyone going to come into the pits ahead of us here? It doesn't look like it right now. Bottas has pitted. Hamilton has pitted. So now this is where Alonso needs to push hard. We're going to put him into neutral because we're already burning through things. Go aggressive on the tyres. Think we can manage 2 laps still here. So we should be okay. Elsewhere, a whole host of other cars coming into the pit, you can see here. Ocon now running in P6 as a result of that. Gasly just ahead of him. And in fact, Gasly trying to make the move on Alonso, as Alonso's now trying to make the move on Vettel, of course. We are now pushing away. Told Ocon to save his tyres. He does not need to save anymore. Clean air ahead of him. So this now a really critical part of the race for us. Lots of cars around us, including both Bottas and Hamilton, have pitted early. I'm hoping that we can use the Red Bull in front of us to really, well, get DRS and use it for pace. As things stands, though, it looks like we are just a little bit quicker than that Red Bull on the fresher tyres, running the hard, so not entirely surprising. Alonso's tyre usage at 37%. I think we can manage 2 more laps, which is going to take us into our ideal pit window phase. As for Ocon, I'm being told now that, really, not this lap, but the lap after, we should be pitting. But given his current tyre situation, tempted to maybe go a little bit further, especially if this AlphaTauri of Gasly comes into the pits. I think there could be some clean air to run in. Maybe we can use the DRS of the Red Bull. Anxiously wait to see if the AlphaTauri goes off, and indeed it does. This, I think, is our time to shine. I'm going to ignore the instruction to pit for 1 more lap. And really now, it's just about getting some time set on the board as we go that little bit longer. Interesting to note, Russell going for an extra lap on 30%. Not sure how much life he is going to have left in his tyres. So looking at the last lap times, you can see Alonso half a second quicker than Verstappen, who's on fresh hards on his current soft tyres, which have 33% life. I'm tempted to pit here. I'm tempted also to go for 1 more lap. I'm going to tell Ocon to go on to standard just so he can go maybe 2 laps longer. But I'm thinking we've got 1 more lap for Alonso before we pit. And we're going to go slightly longer with Ocon just because of the state of his tyres right now. So Ocon has now gone ahead of Alonso. This is now where we are going to look to pit with Alonso. Going on to the mediums, then the softs. The reason we've gone a little longer here is because we've not got those fresh softs to go on to. Ocon doing really, really well on his latest tyres. Ocon up to P3, by the way, for what it's worth. He's still yet to pit, of course. In fact, he can look to push a little bit more, I feel like. Definitely going longer than I planned to here, but I think it's going to work in our favour. We'll keep a close eye on Alonso's pit stop here as he's going to come in first. Probably would have liked to pit them both this lap, but I don't want to stack the cars. I think we're better off letting Ocon go that little bit further. Could be very interesting now to see where Alonso comes out. Has going longer worked in our favour? We were behind Bottas and Hamilton, and it looks like that is not going to change for us. The big question now is, are we going to lose ground on Gasly going further? We're not. Okay, we've come out ahead, which is what we wanted to see. As for Ocon, he is going to be pitting this lap, and he is going to be pitting for mediums. The good news for us is he has got 2 sets of mediums. We weren't sure if that was going to be the case or not for us. Currently running in P2, so if I want a clickbait thumbnail, I should take a screenshot at this point in the video so anyone watching it thinks that we might have finished really high up the grid. It's going to be interesting here because I have a sneaking suspicion a lot of cars are going to be running softs to end the race. I don't think anyone can use hards to the end of the race, so Alonso is going to have slightly quicker tyres, debatably. Maybe the life's going to be a question mark here. He is going to need to make some moves on the track, but with plenty of fuel in there, I think he's capable of doing a little bit of racing here. It's going to be interesting, though, because he's not got that DRS to help him, which right now, both Gasly and Russell on his tail do have. And in fact, you can see there, Gasly making the move ahead. As for Alonso, he's going into the final turn here. Let's see what he can do as we go into the pits. This is big for us. If Ocon can come in around Alonso, we're in a really, really good position to at least save Ocon's race. Of course, we are going to be dropping some places here as well. Alonso doing battle with the Mercedes and also the AlphaTauris. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. I'm not sure who that was for. I think it might have been one of the Ferraris going off. Ocon getting a good pit stop time. And in fact, it was Bottas going wide. Ocon, where are you going to come out here, son? He could end up coming out in a pretty good spot, I think. Or he could come out directly next to his teammate, which is not exactly where I want to see him. But I guess there's worse places we could be. We are now running alongside one another. I'm going to let Alonso, I think, really have a go here for now. So with that in mind, I'm going to tell Ocon not to fight his teammate. We need to be sensible to see out this race now. So 21 laps into things here. Somewhat concerning to see Alonso not able to clear Gasly just yet, of course. No DRS, which is going to be problematic. And in fact, look at this. We might have both our cars ahead of the AlphaTauri here, which would really, really work in our favour if we could make it happen. Is Ocon going to be able to make the move stick? Gasly right behind him, right up his chuff. And in fact, Gasly able to get back ahead of Ocon, who I think was compromised there with his line into that turn. Now looking at Alonso. Is he going to be able to see off Gasly here? This is the clean air that we wanted to see, though. This is the clean air that we need to see Alonso in. In terms of race strategy, it's still very, very close. I know we've not got fresh softs here, and that scares me a little bit. At the moment, Alonso running behind Gasly. Ocon has now dropped behind Russell. I'm telling both drivers to push, but because we're in kind of traffic and directly behind cars, we're still going to be saving a little bit of fuel. Both ERS modes in harvest as well, just trying to get as much charge as possible to really push for hopefully 2 laps, get a move, at least for Alonso, done on Gasly. And then with ERS active, hopefully break the DRS train. As things stand, our race is single-handedly being ruined by the fact that Alonso cannot get past Gasly. I think he is quicker, but Gasly just seems to be able to get back at him with DRS. You can see we have momentarily at least made the move here with Alonso. I'm going to tell him to go into overtake mode and really push with these tyres now. I know we need to manage the tyres for this race, but ultimately, we have to use this clean air that we've got to pull ahead of Gasly. But I know as long as that gap remains less than a second, Gasly is going to be a threat on every single straight because we just don't have that straight line speed to break this DRS train that has just been a constant factor, it feels like, through this entire race. So when it comes to Ocon's tyres, there's going to be a little bit of life left in them, I think, for both of these stints on mediums. And knowing that we've got 2 sets of fresh mediums, I'm going to ask him to push a little bit here. Again, I'd like to see us break that kind of DRS train that Russell has, although you can see Russell closing so close behind. By the way, should draw attention to it, Alonso has just gone fastest, and yet Gasly is still able to trail him. There is, however, the Alfa Romeo, I think. Is that the Alfa Romeo ahead? It is the Alfa Romeo ahead. We are not far away from getting DRS with Bottas, which could really help us with pulling away here. We are telling Alonso to push. I am conscious of the fact that the fuel is not in an ideal situation. But we are now in DRS range. There is going to be the DRS section in Sector 2 for us to maybe capitalise on here. We are pushing. The Alfa Romeo is really, really struggling here for Bottas, who, as you can see, has now dropped way, way, way behind Hamilton. And in fact, Alonso looking good here on those medium tyres, just simply quicker than everyone else on the hard. A really, really good move for us. Unfortunately, that means no DRS. Now kind of anxiously looking at Bottas, who looks way slower than us, thinking, please hold up Gasly. Do it for me, Valtteri. Do us a favour. So unfortunately for us, Alonso still battling away with Bottas and Gasly. I'm considering changing his strategy and going for double mediums. I know that the tyres are going to be very, very marginal if we go medium softs because we've not got fresh softs to go on to. And looking at every single one around us being on hards, well, namely Bottas and Gasly, you have to imagine they're going to be on softs to end the race. So if they're running on the hards and then going on to the softs a little bit later, they are going to be way, way quicker than us. I think we are better off continuing to push on these mediums with Alonso in the same way that we are with Ocon. By the way, battle just still going on. You can see here there are 5 of us just going on and on and on. It feels like for the last 20 laps, even before and after the pit stops, it's just been the same 5 cars just overtaking one another. I'm going to tell Alonso really to go all out aggression on these tyres now. We need to get ahead of Hamilton if we can. Give him overtake on this straight, although the DRS could be a factor. Hamilton looking to make that move and just breezes by. We've got to turn the engine mode back. We can stay on aggressive, though, I think, on the driving style. And oh my word, Lewis Hamilton has just spun out of this race. Oh my, I mean, we are now in such a good position, although Bottas is looking to capitalise. Let's watch that again. The pressure of Alonso up the chuff. Was there contact? We may never know. I'm going to claim there wasn't. There was no wing damage to Alonso, so it wasn't Alonso's fault. Hashtag Alonso did nothing wrong. The DRS here, we were pulling away, and then that whole Hamilton spin compromised Alonso a little bit, and as a result, the train of cars continues on. In fact, if we just go on board with Russell here, you can see it's the same 5 cars. This is like watching a marathon, you know, where they run as a group or like a cycling race. That is what we've witnessed here. These 5 cars have been carrying each other along. It feels like for the entire race. I'm going to progress on a little bit faster here because I think it's going to be the same 5 cars just battling it out here. I am asking both drivers to push hard here whilst they're in the, the traffic situation. We were pretty good on fuel on the whole. And I have also had Alonso harvesting to just give us as much energy as possible because I think that is going to be critical come the later parts of this race. If we stay in neutral now, we're going to hover in the high percentages. We're going to have battery for when we need it. So I just went to update Alonso's strategy with mediums. We don't have mediums. Not ideal. We can't really go on the hards. It's going to be way, way too slow. So I think our best bet is to actually go for softs to the end of the race. I think we can still just about make it work. A bit of a calamity from me to assume that we'd be fine there. What it does mean is for Ocon, who has got those 2 mediums, he might be in a position, having started outside the points, to finish ahead of Alonso, who of course started 9th here. I mean, whatever way you look at it, the fact that we find ourselves in this situation running 5th and 7th after 1 stop each is a really, really good spot to be in. Right now, we are running in P5 and P6. I'm weighing up if I want to tell Alonso not to fight with his teammate here. I think I'm going to tell him to let Ocon by. I think Ocon might be our hope on those double mediums. That change in strategy might work out. My only concern is when Alonso gives up the position here, he might... And I say this maybe based off personal experience, he might end up giving up a few more places. There's a temptation to tell Alonso to hold the cars behind up, but I'm not sure that is necessarily going to work for us. I feel like if we do that, Alonso's probably going to get swallowed whole because I'm not sure we've got the pace to actually strategically hold cars up. Hopefully Ocon's going to be able to make it through here and Alonso is going to be okay. Are they going to be okay here? We're going to be okay here. Okay, this is ideal. I was a bit concerned that that swap wasn't going to go to plan, but it looks like it is. Alonso at this point really needs to manage his tyres because we've got the mediums to go on for Ocon. Ocon's going to be able to pit a lot sooner. I think now for Ocon, the time is, now to push on and try and make something happen. Up the engine mode. We are now over our pit window. But I think we've got to capitalise on this clean air whilst we can. We've not had this clean air yet. Latifi, by the way, I think this is that we're approaching. Please do not get in the way, Nicholas Latifi. Get out the way. Okay, I think we're going to be okay here. As I said, cars don't get out the way. I'm scarred. It was nearly Perez Mark II electric boogaloo. We need to really conserve these tyres now, I think, for this soft stint coming up for Alonso. But he can really push with his engine. And in fact, we'll leave him in overtake mode as well. In fact, do we need him in overtake mode? We don't need him in overtake mode. He can go in defend mode. We're asking him to hold position because I didn't want him to overtake Ocon. And actually, what this might be doing is forcing the likes of Bottas and Russell maybe to pit a bit sooner if they can't get by. As for Ocon, he's got that clean air. Going to be interesting to see if that makes a difference when it comes to his lap times. Do I want to pit Ocon this lap or do we give him one more? I think we pit him this lap. Let's go for it. We're going to put him on the mediums. He can burn up what's left of these tyres now. Really, really push, Esteban. This is big for us. You have clean air to go as hard as you can. Alonso is going to do one more lap. This is going to be the pivotal moment in our race. How is Ocon's pit stop going to go? Looking for a pit stop time in the region of 2.8 seconds, ideally. What time are we going to get? 2.9. It's not quick. Elsewhere on the track, Bottas passing Alonso as well, which feels somewhat inevitable. Doing it into turn one, I think this lap is going to be the lap to pull in Alonso, and he's just going to have to try and make the softs work. Could be in danger of being overtaken by the Merc, though. It looks like the Merc of Russell is going to pit here. I have a sneaking suspicion he might undercut us, the Merc. Let's see what we can do with Alonso here. Right, Alonso, you can go into standard now, mate. You are going to be pitting this lap. And in terms of the softs he's going to come out on, it's going to be some with 90% condition. I've got to hope they can do the rest of this race. Everyone else pitting. So Alonso going this extra lap. Ocon on this lap where we need to really get the undercut done is getting absolutely shafted by Lando Norris, who's completely in the way. We're going to ask him to push. I'm going to really, really try and make this final little run in sector 3 a move. Dummies, Norris. That is absolutely mad. Alonso coming into the pit as well, but we'll stay on board with Ocon here because this is going to be the big thing. Where is Bottas going to come out is interesting, although we've just been done by Lando Norris. What tyres is Lando Norris on? Norris is on old hards going faster than Ocon on the mediums. Should I be concerned? I don't think we need to be. I think it's going to be okay. He's still got to pit. And in fact, I say all of this, Ocon might be able to make it happen here, although we've got to watch tyre temperatures. Don't want to compromise the performance of them. So unfortunately for us, after those pit stops, Alonso now running in P10 has dropped a second behind Russell. Now's the big moment in this race. Bottas and Hamilton in the pit. Has this move worked for us? They are going to be on softs, you'd have to imagine. We'll keep a very close eye on what tyres they come out on. As down the pit straight we come. And Ocon on his mediums is up to P5. Norris also in the pits. Where is Alonso going to come out in all of this? He is ahead of Hamilton. That is big for us. And in fact, there could be some racing left in these last 14 or so laps because it is very, 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 very close. Alonso just had a really awful lap for us. A 1:38 means he's now 4 seconds behind Bottas. Alonso not in a great situation here. If only he'd had that second set of mediums, we would be in a great spot. 4 laps left of this race. We're in a really good spot with Ocon. Plenty of life left in his mediums. Plenty of time left for them. We could go in attack mode, but I think we just play things safe right now. He's still 6.5 seconds clear. P5, don't want to say it too soon. It looks like it should be in the bag. The big question now is, can Alonso hold back the likes of Hamilton and Gasly, who in the fracas of just battling against one another are, well, just compromising each other's races. Russell and Alonso are long gone at this point, 8.5 seconds ahead. 2 laps left, a yellow flag in sector 3. We're still running in P5 with Ocon. Tsunoda's spun out. That does not affect us one little bit. All eyes are on Alonso here, who you can see with, what, a lap and a half left now, or actually 2.5 laps left because of the race leaders are in a situation where I think the tyres have gone. The tyres have gone. We knew this could happen. There is a risk of a puncture. If we pit now, we don't get anything. Oh, the tyre situation has come back to bite us. I didn't think they'd fall away as quickly as they have to end this race. We have 2 laps left as we go into this final corner here with with Alonso. But I think it is going to be a tale of, well, 2 fortunes. Ocon absolutely shafted on Saturday. Alonso maybe got the rub of the green on that day. And the roles have been reversed today. Alonso's strategy, my idea of going onto the medium seemed great. We knew that these softs were going to be very, very marginal. We were kind of hoping a safety car could maybe bail us out, but unfortunately that tyre wear at 28% is very, very bad indeed. Unfortunately, that fastest lap that we held once upon a time is not going to matter. Leclerc, by the way, trying to make a move on Verstappen, going into the last turn here. At the end of this race, surely he can't do him on the line. Charles Leclerc is chasing Verstappen. It's going to be a race to the line. Sainz is going to come P3. Verstappen holds on at the death. Perez is going to come home. Ocon is all on his lonesome. If we get P5 and P10 here, that is a monumental achievement. Yes, Alonso has lost a place, but he did help a secure 5th place for Ocon, who is going to cross the line. And the double medium strategy has worked wonders. Can Alonso maybe make something work here to end the race? We're going to turn everything up for the last turn, but I think it's going to be too little, too late. Indeed it is. Gasly vanishing up and away down this final straight. Alonso, though, is going to finish 10th, get some points. Yes, he didn't quite finish as high as when he started, but first race, first experience of F1 Manager managing Alpine. I think that is a small win for our team. Maybe it's a big win. Maybe I'm underselling it. Maybe we'll look back on this race in a few episodes' time and look back fondly and say, remember when we got that P5? But at least for today, it's a very, very, very good result. What a sensational performance. 8 positions gained by Ocon. The next highest was 4 positions by Lando Norris. Esteban Ocon being able to overtake through pit stops and indeed just some fantastic racing on the track. A lot of cars that outqualified him on the Saturday. And with that, I think we're here at the end of episode number 1 of our F1 Manager Let's Play. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I have never recorded a video like this before. It's quite different to playing and editing Football Manager, especially the race stuff. I think it's going to take us a few episodes to really find what works particularly well for videos. So, like I said, halfway through, any feedback down in the comments, I would love to read it. There was a lot of action during that race, a lot of back and forth in the middle of the pack, especially during the middle kind of section of it. But nevertheless, some really, really good results to end it with. And well, hopefully we're going to see more racing like that next time. If you have enjoyed today's video, do drop a like on it if it's your first time around here. Firstly, welcome aboard. Secondly, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you soon for some more F1 Manager gameplay. And until whenever that is, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.